Welcome back to the Deep Dive, where we cut through the noise and get you up to speed fast. Today, we're diving headfirst into the Q2 FY 2025 earnings call for Wave Life Sciences, ticker WVE. This is a really fascinating story playing out right now. You've got this biotech company navigating that classic tension, right, between some financial softness, in the present, and absolutely significant pipeline momentum pointing towards a, potentially big future. We're going to break down their latest financial results and, maybe more importantly, put a spotlight on the critical clinical catalysts that are right on the horizon.
Exactly. It's a prime example of balancing those current numbers with future potential, and it's all centered around the proprietary RNA medicine platform. We'll explore the key updates across their diverse therapeutic areas, from rare genetic diseases to big population targets like obesity, and we'll unpack what these developments truly mean for their strategic direction and, ultimately for you, the listener.
All right, let's get right into the headline numbers for Q2 FY 2025 then. Wave Life Sciences reported a GAAP EPS that's generally accepted accounting principles earnings per share of negative $0.31, which missed the consensus estimate by about 2 cents.
Yeah, missed by 0.02 cents. And revenue came in at $8.7 million, also falling short of the $11.52 million consensus. That's by about $2.82 million.
Okay, $8.7 million revenue.
And that figure, it's quite a drop, represents a substantial year-over-year decrease, 55.8% compared to Q2 of FY 2024. The company also posted a net loss of $50.5 million for the quarter. So yeah, on the surface, the financial picture looks, challenging. Okay, the challenging financials. How did the market react to this kind of mixed bag of news? Well, initially, shares saw a bit of a dip pre-market, 2.6% right after the release on July 30th.
Right.
It did recover slightly, went positive 0.5% just before the market opened.
Okay.
But then by the end of that trading day, the stock closed down 1.92% from its prior close. And trading volume was noticeably above typical levels. People were definitely reacting.
Okay, so a bit of a negative reaction on the day.
However, this is where it gets interesting, because you really need to look beyond that immediate sort of knee-jerk reaction. Despite that single-day dip, Wave Life Sciences has actually shown pretty impressive returns over recent periods.
Oh, really?
Yeah, up 11.5% in the last month alone, a strong 53.9% over 3 months, and get this, a remarkable 67.6% over the past year.
Wow, okay.
And this performance, it significantly outpaced the broader biotech ETF, the XBI, across those same timeframes.
Right.
So what this signals to us really is a neutral to constructive sentiment, meaning, the market is certainly paying attention to the financials, you can't ignore them, but it's clearly leaning into that promising pipeline as the real driver here.
That's a crucial distinction, isn't it? Okay, let's unpack this then and dive deeper into those financials. Let's move beyond just the headlines, understand the strategic plays underneath.
Okay, so research and development expenses for Q2 FY 2025 were $43.5 million, which is an increase from $40.4 million in Q2 2024.
Okay, R&D up.
Right. And this isn't just a random number. It tells us exactly where Waves is placing its biggest bets. They're accelerating development in their cutting-edge inhibin and RNA editing programs, plus, the compensation-related expenses for the talent driving these efforts.
Makes sense.
General and administrative expenses also rose to $18.0 million. That's up from $14.3 million in the prior year, mainly driven by share-based compensation and other external costs. I mean, that's the cost of building out a company poised for these big clinical milestones.
So if they're spending more on R&D and G&A, what does this mean for their cash runway? How long can they keep the lights on and fund these pretty ambitious programs?
Yeah, great question. So the company ended Q2 FY 2025 with a solid $208.5 million in cash and cash equivalents.
Okay.
Over $200 million. Exactly. And what's really important here is management's projection. They believe this cash position is sufficient to fund operations into 2027.
Into 2027.
Into 2027. And importantly, that figure excludes any potential future milestone payments they might receive from their big collaboration agreement with GSK. Ah, okay.
So, despite the current financial softness we talked about, they seem to have the capital to reach these upcoming, potentially transformative milestones without needing to rush back to the market right away.
That runway definitely gives them some breathing room, doesn't it? So I imagine management's overall tone must reflect this pipeline confidence, even with that revenue miss. What did we hear from leadership on the call?
Absolutely. Dr. Paul Bolano, the CEO, he expressed very strong momentum. highlighted rapid execution and really emphasized their position to deliver multiple robust data sets in the second half of 2025. It's definitely a message of eyes on the prize.
Right.
And the company also recently welcomed Dr. Chris Wright as Chief Medical Officer back in May. That's a key appointment.
New CMO.
Yeah. Bringing in a CMO with that kind of experience, it clearly strengthens their clinical leadership, especially as they move into late-stage development and, have to navigate those regulatory interactions for both rare and common diseases. It signals a company really maturing its pipeline. Okay, this is where it gets really interesting for me. The pipeline itself. Let's start with WVE-006. That's the one targeting alpha-1 antitrypsin deficiency, or AATD. Tell us about this program.
Right. So WVE-006 is an RNA editing oligonucleotide. You might see it abbreviated as AMR. Think of it as like a tiny molecular editor, designed to correct genetic errors right at their source.
Okay.
For ATD, it's designed to address the root cause of the disease. And what's particularly compelling about this approach is its convenient subcutaneous dose.
Subcutaneous, so just under the skin.
Exactly. It can be injected just under the skin. This avoids the need for, intravenously administered lipid nanoparticles or other complex delivery vehicles. Those can be a significant hurdle for patient convenience and broader adoption with some other potential treatments out there.
Okay, that convenience factor sounds key.
Yeah.
And what's the latest progress in the clinic for WVE-006? Where are they at?
Well, they've completed multi-dosing in the 200 milligram cohort. That involved 8 patients receiving 7 doses every other week, so demonstrating sustained administration.
Okay, 7 doses.
Yep. And single dose completion has also been achieved in the 400 milligram cohort, so they are steadily and safely escalating the dose.
Got it. So what data should we be watching for next? What's going to really tell us the impact here?
Right, so we're looking for the complete 200 milligram single and multi-dose data that's expected in Q3 2025.
Q3.
Followed by the 400 milligram single dose data in fall 2025. This program is particularly significant because, it marks the first clinical demonstration of RNA editing in humans. It's a big milestone for the field.
First in human, wow.
Yeah. And initial data from the first 2 patients at that 200 milligram level, it already showed AAT protein levels indicative of converting from the ZZ dysfunctional phenotype to the MZ phenotype. Basically, they're aiming for about a 50% correction in the dysfunctional protein.
Okay.
They're also seeing consistency in the editing efficiency, and they believe there's ample room for further dose escalation, which, could unlock even greater therapeutic potential down the line.
Okay, RNA editing, very cutting edge. Now let's pivot to WVE-007, their obesity program. This one's known as InLight.
Yeah.
This one has generated a lot of buzz, hasn't it? Especially given all the excitement around weight loss therapies right now.
Absolutely. Tons of buzz.
Yeah.
So WVE-007 is a GalNAc siRNA candidate. Just quickly, GalNAc is a targeting sugar molecule that helps deliver the siRNA, which is basically a gene silencing tool specifically to liver cells.
Okay, targeted delivery.
Precisely. And this candidate is designed for healthy, sustainable weight loss by directly inducing fat loss while crucially preserving muscle mass.
Preserving muscle, that's different.
That's the key differentiator. It's different from the current wave of GLP-1 agonists, which, primarily work on appetite suppression and can sometimes lead to significant muscle loss along with the fat.
Right.
Preclinical data for WVE-007 has indicated weight loss pretty much on par with popular drugs like semaglutide.
Wow.
But with the potential for highly infrequent dosing, possibly just once or twice yearly. I mean, imagine that convenience for patients. Once or twice a year, that would be huge, a massive potential advantage. So what's the latest clinical status for this InLight program?
Okay, so cohort 1, that involved a 75 milligram single dose. It demonstrated favorable safety, good tolerability, and importantly, a robust reduction in activin E, which is the target protein here.
Okay, good signs early.
Very good signs. This positive early data was significant enough that it led them to expand cohort 2. That's the 240 milligram single dose. They expanded it from 8 participants up to 32.
Quadrupled it, okay.
Exactly. And dosing for this expanded cohort 2 is now complete. Dosing is also underway for cohort 3, which is at 400 milligrams, and management specifically noted that the 240 milligram dose, based on their modeling, should be therapeutically active, meaning, it's the dose where they expect to see meaningful weight loss.
Okay, so 240 milligrams is a key one to watch initially. With all that in motion, what data should you, the listener, be really watching for from this obesity program?
Right. So readouts from cohorts 1 and 2 are highly anticipated in Q4 2025.
Q4 this year.
Yep. This will include the crucial safety and tolerability data, of course, but also body composition from DEXA scans. DEXA scans are these powerful tools that precisely quantify changes in fat versus muscle mass. So we'll see if that muscle preservation holds up.
Critical data point.
Absolutely. And they'll also report key cardiometabolic biomarkers, things that shed light on heart and metabolic health. Data from cohort 3, the higher dose, is expected in Q1 2026.
Okay.
And that expansion of cohort 2, going from 8 to 32 patients, that was a very strategic move. It was designed to enrich the data set, give them a much clearer picture of weight loss at what they believe is a therapeutically relevant dose. They also confirmed consistency in that activin E reduction target engagement and its correlation to weight loss, which aligns perfectly with their preclinical models. So far, so good, basically.
Okay, huge potential there. Now, beyond AATD and obesity, Wave Life Sciences has a broader pipeline in motion. Let's talk about WVE-N531 for Duchenne muscular dystrophy, or DMD.
Right. WEEN531 is an exon 53 skipping therapy. For those maybe less familiar, exon skipping therapies, they essentially act like a kind of molecular patch. They allow the body to produce a shortened but still functional dystrophin protein, which is the protein missing or defective in DMD patients.
Okay, a functional protein patch.
Kind of, yeah. And the company recently reported positive data from their Forward 53 trial. It showed a statistically significant and clinically meaningful improvement of 3.8 seconds in what's called time to rise at 48 weeks.
3.8 seconds improvement.
Which, importantly, is the largest effect observed relative to any approved dystrophin restoration therapy currently available.
Largest effect seen, okay.
And the data also showed substantial improvements in muscle health itself. Things like a reduction in fibrosis, which is scarring, decreases in creatine kinase, an important indicator of muscle damage. And there was even clinical evidence of myogenic stem cell uptake, which suggests new muscle tissue might be forming.
Okay, so a 3.8-second improvement in time to rise might sound like a small number to some folks, but how does that really translate to a patient's daily life, and what does this mean for its future pathway?
Yeah, that's a great point. For a patient with Duchenne muscular dystrophy, a 3.8-second improvement in time to rise is actually quite significant. It's noticeable. It means a tangible increase in functional mobility. It makes everyday tasks like getting up off the floor easier, potentially delaying the progression of the disease. It is definitely a clinically meaningful change.
Okay, meaningful change.
And because of these strong results, they plan to submit a new drug application, an NDA, in 2026. They're aiming for an accelerated approval pathway, proposing a convenient monthly dosing regimen.
Monthly dosing.
And encouragingly, the FDA has apparently been receptive to their data and this proposed path. That's always a very positive sign.
Definitely. Okay, and then there's WVE-003 for Huntington's disease, HD, another devastating genetic disorder.
Yeah, WVE-003 employs what's called an allele selective approach. This is really crucial for Huntington's. It uses stereochemical control, basically, a very precise molecular design to reduce the mutant Huntington protein, both at the mRNA and protein levels. But critically, it spares the wild type, or the healthy Huntington protein. This selective targeting is key to minimizing potential off-target effects.
Selectivity is important there.
Extremely. And prior data demonstrated potent and durable mutant Huntington reductions up to 46% with just 3 doses. That's quite impressive.
That is a significant reduction. What about its impact on the disease progression itself? Any signs there?
Yes, and this is potentially huge. They observed a statistically significant correlation between these mutant Huntington reductions and the slowing of caudate atrophy.
Caudate atrophy, that's brain tissue loss.
Exactly. It's a critical measure of brain tissue loss, often seen in HD progression. And this correlation, linking the drug's effect to slowing that atrophy, is the first time it's been observed in Huntington's disease. It's a massive biomarker finding, suggesting real potential therapeutic benefit. And like with DMD, the FDA has reportedly been receptive to an accelerated approval pathway for this program, too.
Okay, another positive regulatory signal. What's coming up next for this Huntington's program?
An investigational new drug, or IND, application is planned for the second half of 2025.
This year still?
Yep, second half 25. This IND would be for a potentially registrational phase 23 study, so it's a critical step towards bringing this promising therapy closer to patients who desperately need options.
Okay, now beyond these specific clinical programs we've discussed, what else is Wave building in its sort of earlier stage discovery pipeline? Anything else brewing that we should know about?
Yes, definitely. Beyond these programs that are further along, Wave Life Sciences is actively advancing a wholly owned discovery pipeline. They're targeting both hepatic, meaning liver, and extrahepatic tissues, so tissues outside the liver, using both their RNA editing and siRNA platforms. They're leveraging both technologies.
Okay, broadening the scope.
Exactly. For example, there's an RNA correction program called PLMP3 that's on track for a CTA, a clinical trial application filing, sometime in 2026. This program targets roughly 9 million homozygous I48M carriers in the US and Europe who suffer from a specific type of liver disease. So another significant potential market.
9 million carriers.
Yes. And the company also plans to hold a research day in fall 2025.
Yeah.
There, they'll provide further updates on these emerging programs and likely discuss new clinical development initiatives expected to kick off in 2026. So expect more news flow. It's clearly a busy and expanding portfolio.
Okay, so bringing all this together, the financials, the pipeline depth, these upcoming catalysts, what does this all mean for you, the investor, looking at Wave Life Sciences right now? How do you frame this?
Look, this really presents what we often call a classic biotech setup. You've got a period of, let's say, financial softness contrasted by really significant, tangible pipeline momentum.
Right.
The current cash position, that runway into 2027, it gives them the breathing room to execute on multiple critical data readouts without that immediate financing pressure hanging over them. And if these upcoming ATD and obesity data points confirm those positive early signals we've talked about,
If they hit.
It could fundamentally shift the whole narrative for WVE's multimodality PRISM platform. It could move it from just proof of concept, showing the technology works towards clear potential commercialization pathways. It's that crucial transition from demonstrating the tech works to proving it can actually become a blockbuster drug.
That's a powerful narrative arc, isn't it? That could drive significant value. So if we're marking our calendars, what are the absolute key catalysts, the must-watch events over the next year or so?
Okay, key dates. We're looking at the complete 200 milligram AATD data in Q3 2025.
Q3 ATD.
Followed by the 400 milligram AATD data in fall 2025. And remember, that fall 2025 period also coincides with their research day, which could bring even more news.
Right, research day catalyst too.
Then in the second half of 2025, we expect that IND filing for their Huntington's disease program. Q4 2025 brings the highly anticipated cohort 1 and 2 data for the obesity program, WVE-007. That's probably the biggest near-term one for market attention.
Yeah, obesity data will be huge.
Then cohort 3 data follows in Q1 2026. And looking a little further out, the DMD NDA submission is planned for sometime in 2026. These specific readouts, these milestones, they're expected to set the near-term stock path much more than broader macro biotech trends. It's really a series of potentially binary events for Wave.
Right, makes sense. Now, for our experienced investors tuning in, the ones always thinking about how to position around these high-impact biotech events, let's get into a thought experiment. It's maybe a bit outside the box, but arguably has a plausible core, given everything we've just discussed. Time for our not financial advice segment.
Okay, let's speculate a bit, purely hypothetically, of course. Given Wave's recent pullback post-earnings, right, and these significant catalysts on the horizon, WVE-006 and AATD, WVE-007 and obesity, both with critical data coming in the next 2 quarters. One speculative, yet I'd say plausible trade idea we could ponder is maybe a calendarized long strangle on WVE, heavily skewed to the upside and targeting late Q4 25 and early Q1 26 expiry dates.
Okay, a long strangle, skewed upside targeting the data drops. Break that down.
Right. So the pitch here is this. The revenue and EPS miss has maybe dampened sentiment a little, giving us a potentially suppressed entry point right now. We're hearing a very clear cadence from management about multiple data readouts that truly have the potential to be transformative for the company's valuation.
Transformative potential, yeah.
The AATD data, it could validate their RNA editing platform's durability and dose response, potentially confirming a best-in-class profile there. That alone would be significant. But maybe more importantly, the obesity data, especially with that expanded cohort 2 at 240 milligrams, which, remember, management projects to be therapeutically active.
Right, the key dose.
That data could show real differentiation on muscle preservation and that highly infrequent dosing schedule. That would be a massive market differentiator if the human data replicates those preclinical findings. Huge.
Massive, okay.
So the core thesis is basically that the market might be underappreciating the potential magnitude, the sheer impact of these upcoming clinical data sets. If either AETD or especially that obesity program delivers strongly on its promise, we could be looking at a significant re-rating of the stock, something that could send it soaring, far outpacing the premium you'd pay for, say, long-dated call options in that strangle structure.
Okay, so betting on the upside from the data.
Exactly. It's fundamentally a bet on the quality and the timing of their innovation rather than focusing solely on the current financials. It's structured to leverage a potential series of binary events in a stock that has shown historical volatility around news. Obviously not for the faint of heart, but it's a thought experiment based on the setup.
A classic biotech catalyst play structure then. Okay, wrapping this up, Wave Life Sciences is clearly at a critical juncture, isn't it? Balancing these reported financial challenges with the undeniable momentum of a robust and diverse clinical pipeline.
Absolutely. And the market's measured neutral to constructive reaction right now suggests that these upcoming high-impact data readouts across ADTD, obesity, DMD, and Huntingtons over the next few quarters, they're going to be absolutely paramount. They will dictate the company's future valuation and its strategic narrative. For you, the listener, the real story of Wave Life Sciences in 2025 and into 2026 will be written in those clinical trial results.
And as always, we remind our listeners that this information is for educational purposes only. It should definitely not be considered financial advice. Investing in the stock market, especially biotech, involves substantial risks, and past performance is never indicative of future results. Always conduct your own due diligence or consult with a qualified financial advisor before making any investment decisions. So here's a final thought. What will be the bigger surprise for Wave? A clinical data point that maybe underwhelms, or one that completely blows expectations out of the water? Something to think about as these catalysts approach. Thank you for tuning in to The Deep Dive. Join us next time for another deep dive into the world of earnings calls and market-moving news.